Hi, good morning. Welcome to Business. My name is Daryl Kwa. We are revisiting the story to do with the shutdown of some savings and loans companies and finance houses. And as we know it, validation of depositors' claims by the receiver is beginning this morning for the about 500 branches of the financial institutions that have been shut down by the Bank of Ghana. I want to bring you an update because my colleague Charles Aite has been visiting some of the affected institutions. He joins us this morning. Tell us where you are, Charles, and what is happening around you.
Currently here at the First Ghana Savings and Loans Limited. And as you rightly stated, today should be the time where the receivers sit with clients to validate their payment records and effect payments in that regard. But as at now, you could see around me scores of some clients just standing aloof, frustrated. Why? Because the very bank that was to assist them with the filling of most of the forms that they have in their hands has been closed down for no unknown reason. And I have here with me a particular client. You have this particular form with you. It was given to you by the receiver. Do you understand what this is?
I don't really understand it. I can only read, but I don't just understand what they are saying. Unless, when this form was given out, I asked them, who is going to fill them? Am I to fill them and bring it back to them? Or what? They said if I should fill where I can fill and then leave the rest to them. I also asked them, am I the one to go and look for the commissioner of oath? All they told me was that I should wait, fill what I can do, and then give it back to them.
All right, so Daryl, this gentleman is a pensioner, and most of his pension funds come through this particular bank. But now that it's now defunct, he's currently here frustrated. He doesn't know what exactly the situation could be. You came for your pension funds, and this is what you were meeting.
That's correct. Yes, I came from my pension fund, and this is what I've met.
So what's the next way out for you? What's management telling you?
Management is telling us that we should fill this form, give it back to them, and that they will communicate to us later.
Thank you very much, sir, for your time. So you had one concern there. I just want you to get in touch with one particular pensioner as well. He's quite old. He came here for his pension funds, and he came to meet this particular bad news. Thank you very much, sir, for your time. You came here for your pension funds, I believe.
Our pension pay.
But
what pay is paid through here, every month from Accountant General. And
when you came, what did they tell you?
No, I had a news on the telly that the bank's license has been.
All right. So you're here to wait for your pension funds. You did hear that from him. His concern and that of other concerns is what is causing sort of a scene here at the First Ghana Savings and Loans Ghana Limited. Now, there's one thing we need to understand. If you look closely on this particular bandage, you can find out that they've been in existence for the past, over 50 years. They've been in existence for almost 1956. And this particular confidence has picked up with clients here, most of who have their pension funds coming up from this area. This is just one scenario that we could raise for you. We've been to GN Savings and Loans, which is currently closed down, the main branch, the defunct GN Savings and Loans. So we've also been to the defunct Savings and Loans of CDH, which is also currently working, receivers attending to clients, and we shall be updating you further as and when we do have some more information, Daryl.
Charles Aite, some great reporting there. Thanks very much indeed. And so people are starting to throng their financial institutions, trying to fill forms so that they can be a part of the validation process that is going on right now. Joining me in studio is Joy Business Assistant Editor Norman Akwa-Hayford. Are you surprised by some of what you're seeing this morning, Norman?
I think that we'll see more of these things. There'll be a lot of queues in most of these branches.
Interesting that the bank hasn't opened for business.
Yes, one of the things I wanted to have gotten clarity from Charles had to do with did they open and then later on decided to close? Where did these guys get the forms they are holding? Is it that one of the officials from this particular institution or people who have been contracted by the receiver decided to give these forms to them to fill and submit? That is what I wanted, because remember that the central bank's announcement came around 3, almost 4 p.m. on Friday, at a time when most of the institutions had, closed the day's operations. And so I'm wondering what is really happening. But we will see a lot of these things, because don't forget that from today, Eric Nipper and his team will be validating all the various claims.
And exactly, we've been talking about validation. Just break it down for us. What does this process entail?
Okay, so what it means is that, and that's what has begun. That's what what's happening where Charles is. You need to fill certain forms. They need to check with the database of these institutions if indeed, one, your name is there, the claims you are making in terms of how much you are owed, or in terms of your deposits that are there is true, because that needs to happen to allow them to be able to pay you if they have to do the payment.
And I guess for these depositors, the question is, how soon are you going to get am I going to get my monies, right? Even though the process has begun, it takes some time before the monies come.
Sure. Of course, it doesn't mean that when you walk in today and then you fill these forms, you get your money. And as I did indicate earlier, they need to be able to also check it with the database of these institutions. Because, mind you, sometimes some things happen off the book. When we say off the books, what it means is that, yes, I probably have placed an investment or probably have done deposits, but it had not been entered into the database of the institution. So all these things can bring some sort of confusion. So they need to be able to, validate everything, go through all these documentations, be sure, and then know that, okay, we have a list from this branch of this institution or from this particular institution that all these people have their deposits here, or they have some kind of investments, fixed deposits that they have placed with this institution, and so we need to be able to pay them.
There have been questions about the approach of the central bank in trying to clean up the savings and loan sector. And you put up an interesting article on myjoyonline.com. I don't know if it can be put up right now. It's on the banking sector cleanup. Bailout was a better option. That is your stance. It's on myjoyonline.com. Your opinion piece. You seem to take a stance in all of this. What are you saying by that article, really? Okay,
so simply from where I sit, and then having read and studied what has happened across the world many years. I mean, if you look at the U.S. in particular, during President Obama's time, he went to Congress and he said that, listen, I would not want to revoke licenses and then have institutions collapsed. We rather would want to bail out. I know people have their stance as to the fact that, listen, they feel that we don't have to bail these people out, and people think that certain bailouts has been done before, and they think it didn't help, and so they do not want to do that. But then you need to look at the impact of whatever you are doing. And if you are in charge of these institutions, I feel that to look at the fact that, we need to pay depositors their funds. Yes, we need to look at the jobs that we also need to look at the jobs that are going to be lost. Remember, and as I did indicate in the article, the 20 billion, and that is in the media budget review. People should go and check the tables that are in that media budget review statement that the finance minister presented. We are using almost 20 billion cedis to undertake this exercise. These monies won't come back anyway. I mean, even if it will come back, it will take a very long time, because you're talking of recovering assets and trying to go, some of them being contested in court and all that. And depositors also need to be paid their money. And so I feel that we could have saved the jobs, and we could have put this money there to save these people. We could have gone through other systems of, okay, we buy equities, we could use treasury to be able to ensure that at some point, if the institution becomes better, we'll say, as the owner of an institution, you are not going to be allowed to get any dividend or anything again. What is going to happen is that in the next 5 years, let's appoint even an administrator, some people who take the institution, turn it around, and when we are making profit later on, we use it to pay back those monies that the taxpayer has put in.
Okay. And so that's Northern Akwahefo's piece on myjoyonline.com right now. The banking sector bailout was a better option. It's getting a lot of traction at the moment. You want to go and have a read yourself. And that is it for business for now. We'll continue to follow events there in Accra for you, and of course around the country, as people begin to feel the impact of the shutdown by the central bank of some financial institutions. That's it for business. My name is Darren Kwa.